This week, guys, we have something phenomenal for you. Several months ago, I got to be a guest on her show. And this week, we are so excited to be able to invite Brianna Glenn to come and join us. And I am pumped. Welcome, Brianna.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to chat with you because I feel like we can just geek out on the business and all the ins and outs and lovely things that we love and get so passionate about. So I'm excited to chat with you too.
I love it, and because quite often when I have guests, I will have some that are like, "You're going to need to send me all the questions." I'm like, "I don't work that way," and so we had a brief email thing of anything specific. Nope, we'll just go for it. And even
Let's go.
before we started recording, it was the same thing. I'm like, "How about we go down this path?" And it's like, "Yep, anything specific? Nope, let's just see where it goes." And
I am
so,
here for it. I am here
right,
for it.
yeah, and that's my favorite part. So, and before we started recording, I told Brianna the number one reason why I reached out now was the right time is that she had asked, or not asked, she had spoke on her Instagram about hiring people, about building the team, hiring people, things of that nature. And so I just thought it's time we have this conversation because I am in alignment with a lot of what you guys say over at Masters in Travel. I've been following you guys for a long time, of course, but I just really appreciate your take on it. And of course, you still operate a full-time travel agency. So in which case, you're definitely in the thick of what it means to build the team within your travel agency. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about that a bit today.
Yeah. I mean, now more than ever so important that I really utilize the resources available to me and understand how I'm trying to scale my business because I'm a year in with co-leading Masters in Travel, and that is literally another business. And it's something I'm passionate about, something I have, so much kind of like, yay, it lights me up. But at the same time, running a full travel agency as well requires me to be very diligent on how I'm using my time and the support that I have within my business to continue to see that be successful and profitable and scale it. It really has required me to make sure that I am operating with this like CEO mindset of, hey, what do I do in the business? What do I outsource? What do I get help with? How do I make sure that this stays in alignment with how I want my life to feel and how I want my business to feel? And also that I don't get to a place of overwhelm, that I don't get to a place of like, working 24/7, trying to do it all, trying to feel like I'm the only one that can do it, all of those things. And so this past year specifically has really showed me the importance of it and that there's no going backwards. There's only going forward. More off my plate, more delegation, more understanding kind of like who I am within the business and where I see my vision going in the future.
I love that. Now, a couple of things that I heard in there. And now, for those that have been around for a while, they know that I used to run a full time travel agency, like a brick and mortar, whole staff,
Mhm.
had the independent contractors, the whole nine yards. I think at one point we were up to, I think our biggest, we maxed out like at 14 or 16 people. And I will say that I did not do a good job of hiring.
Mhm.
And and that was because I didn't know how to give things up. So you said a
Mhm.
really important word in there, and that was delegate. How do you decide what you're going to work on versus what needs to be done by somebody else?
Honestly, the exciting thing now, especially at this point in my business, I heard this on a podcast, so I can't even take full credit for it, but it like so resonated and hit me like, yes and amen. It was this idea that I wake up, she was saying, she's like, my job as CEO is to wake up every day, look at my to-do list and say, what can I get off of this? What doesn't have to be done by me? And figure out if it's not now, how in the future can somebody else do this task? Literally looking at everything we do with that in mind. So for me, it's really kind of taking stock of all the things that we do in our travel business. And there's a lot. Everything from the operational side, just to make sure the business is running, to the whole client journey and the whole client experience, all of the tasks and the to-dos and the workflows and all of these things. And what I did early on was I get it all out of my brain. First of all, what are all the things that I do on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and then start to categorize. What are the things that I am fantastic at? Like, my goodness, this is my zone of genius. I love doing it. I am so great at it. It lights me up. Great. What are the things that I'm good at? Like, I can do this. I'm good at this. What are the things that I do that I am like, they have to be done. Like, they have to be done. And, you know, somebody's got to do them. This is what it takes to run a business. And what are the things that I absolutely hate? Like, dear God, when I see this on my to-do list, it gives me hives and I push it aside and I just like, you know, putting commission into client base, that's the thing for me. Like, things like that, like, oh. So there's those 4 categories of how I'm just categorizing these things: zone of genius, zone of excellence, zone of like, I can get it done, and zone of I hate it, whatever. Those are not the like actual terms, but those things. The second thing I'm categorizing is like the ROI of these tasks. What is the thing that is making money? What are the things that are moving the needle? What are the things that are just tasks and need to be done, but goodness, anybody can do it, like those types of things. And so once I have these categories mapped out, I'm looking for, here's the things that are good. I call it, you know, and it operates in so many areas of our business and areas of our life, but it's the 80-20 rule. At the end of the day, 20% are the things, the tasks that make money and that I love to do. And those are the things that stay with me in this season. Everything else is I'm learning how to delegate. Is it all happening at once? Probably not, but it is a process of learning, like, all of these tasks somebody else can do. I just need to do a good job of making sure that they're systematized in my business so that I can pass them off with ease and have somebody understand, here's what we do, here's why we do it, here's the process in which it's done. I'm sharing this with you. And now once you can understand that, you can take it over and do it. And quite honestly, all of the things that are not my zone of genius, there is somebody else out there better suited to do it than me. Just because I started doing everything, which is what we all start, where we all start when we are running our own travel businesses, we wear every single hat there is possibly to wear. But there should come a time when you start to understand, here are the things that I am great at. Here are the things that are like essential to the vision and the mission of this business. And here are the things that are not, and I'm going to start to delegate them. And then it's a process of growing, right? Because when you first start with somebody and you're just like, budget allows for me to be able to delegate about 10 hours a week. Fantastic. Make sure that those 10 hours like really make a difference. Bring your time up so that you can focus on more of the things that make money that you're really great at. That's the goal. And then the more you're able to do that, the more time is free to make more money in your business, the more money you have to now delegate more to free up more time. And it's just a cycle. So that now when I sit down to do tasks and milk and honey, they're the things that are driving the bus forward. They're the vision things. They're the like client relationships that like really need to be nurtured. They're all of those big picture things and not the day-to-day tasks and the things that other people can do that I know I'm not that special. I think that that's a really important thing to kind of like tell yourself in business. We're not that special. Like we are, but we're not, right? It's that like nice little balance.
I can't tell you how many times inside of my Facebook groups, I'm like, you're not that special.
Yeah,
Like
we're not.
when I'm working with travel advisors, I'm like, but I want to host all these groups. And I'm like, I hate to break it to you. Nobody actually wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I want to go on vacation with my travel agent. That's not like, you're not that
Most of
special.
us, no. And even like in like the FIT world, right? I tell people all the time, like, why are you making dining reservations? Like you're dining, not like you're not this like guru restaurateur loving, like you're doing tasks that literally anybody else could do. And you've made it so that it has to be you, but that's because you think you're the only person that can do it. And that's just not true. And we have to like make sure that we know that, because that's the thing that will allow us to like let go of our baby and be like, I am now trusting you. No, it's also our responsibility to properly prepare people that we hire and people that we bring onto our team to understand, here's what I do, here's why I do it, here's how it's done. Like we have to set people up for success. That's how you're going to feel confident and comfortable with other people helping you with all these things that you've got to like, you learn to just like do yourself, to have the trust and the like, oh wow, it's being done in the way that like I feel really great about, is that's your job too. When people oftentimes feel like a little bit discouraged or a little bit like, oh, they're not doing it right. Well, is that on you? Like, did you not show them how to do it? Is there not an SOP for how you want things done? Well, you kind of got to look in the mirror on that one.
right? You know, and as being a business coach and course creator, we hear a lot about the VAs in the Philippines or overseas or whatever.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you how often I see in some of these Facebook groups where they're like, does somebody have somebody that only costs this? This is my job description. And it's like, that job description does not match that price, even in another country. You
Yeah,
know, so you've got to make sure that you understand what it is that you're looking to do. Just because you don't want to do it doesn't mean it's a bottom of the barrel job. You might be trying
100%.
to farm off something that's actually going to make a significant difference in your business and therefore should be handled by a fully trained professional. I see that
100%.
I see it a lot when people talk about bringing on a social media manager. And so
Yes.
it's, are you bringing on a social media manager, or are you bringing on somebody to take care of your social media in terms of posting? Because those are two
Right.
different things.
And
And they
two
come
different skill sets.
exactly.
And you want to pay like this VA price for actually what is a very like high skill set. If you want a manager of social media or a strategist or somebody who
Mhm.
is really taking the time to approach this from a strategic point of view of how to like with actual like things you're trying to accomplish, that is a totally different ballgame. You're not going to pay them $18 an hour and expect these high level conversions
Yep.
from that duty. But a lot of time you're right. People, that's a very big one that people are like, I don't like social media. So therefore I'm going to hire it out. But yeah,
Yeah.
here's what I want to pay. But here's what I expect. Those
Yeah.
things aren't aligned.
Yeah.
And then that's where the like feeling comes from, right?
Right.
Because like it wasn't in alignment. What you wanted to pay, what you wanted them to do, what they were skilled for, those things didn't overlap. And
Yeah.
therefore the results kind of speak for themselves.
Exactly. You know, putting it in travel terms, you are wanting to pay for a 3-star property, but you were wanting that 5-star luxury
Yes,
all
you're like,
include,
where's
like,
my plunge pool? Where's my butler?
exactly. Where's my butler? Why is my suitcase not unpacked? Like all of those
Yeah.
things. But honey, you paid for a 3-star that was on sale for Black Friday, like
Yeah.
because nobody else was taking it. And so I think sometimes it can, it sets people up for the wrong thing. And I think
Yeah.
I hear a lot of, you got to get a VA, or you've got to do this, or you got to do that. And all I'm hearing is, pay for this and we'll show you a magic pill. And I'm sorry, magic pills don't exist in business,
Yeah.
and definitely not in the travel industry. And I, so when you started bringing on team members, when you started bringing on people, how far into your business were you when you started doing that?
Yes. So for me, it was about 4 years in. Well, okay. So about at the 3 year mark, I had like just a VA for very like, hey, build up my Travify. Hey, send these client gifts. Very like non-client facing tasks that just could be done that weren't time sensitive, which is I think is another very important thing in our business. There are so many things that are time sensitive. And so when you're working with you know, hiring through an agency where this is a VA that you're contracting, but they're contracted with like 17 other people and they'll get to your stuff when they get to it. And you're expecting this like turnaround of 3 hours, but they're like, here's it in 3 days. Like there's just a mismatch there. But you know, that was just my kind of like dipping my foot in the toe. But for me, I kind of like was forced into this idea of I need help and I need it now. And I waited too long because I was in the same position that so many people are. Like, I just don't know how. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to hire. I don't know how to give up control.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have processes in place to show people how it's done. But then I got pregnant. And so the baby was coming whether I was ready or not. And I was just like, actually, I do need help and I need it now. And there's
Yeah.
no reversing this time sensitive thing that's coming.
Yeah.
And so you know, I definitely will say that like my first hire, my real first hire was done at the right time or in the right way. It was done out of necessity, but it has been such a great move and business. And I got lucky. So I'll say that too. I got lucky because 5 years later, she's still with me. And just imagine the growth we've been able to have working together for 5 years and the way that she's been able to grow with the business and grow with Milk and Honey, understand really what we do, and me to be able to trust her at just a very, very high level. So I did get lucky, and we've learned and grown together on how to make her role most successful and how she can make the biggest impact in the business overall. And so then when I was ready to hire a second person, I was a lot more strategic. I'm like, hey, where are we shifting things so that these high level tasks that this person I've hired and who has been with me for a few years can like spend her time doing. And then now we have this role of tasks that are not as high level, but somebody coming in who we really trust, who has a certain skill set, not, they haven't been in the industry, so they're learning that part of it. But I want somebody who's really great with details. I want somebody who really knows how to kind of, like I always say, an Enneagram 1 for me is money. Like I love that just Enneagram type, but I'm looking for certain skill sets, and then I'm creating systems and all of these things to kind of like teach them and bring them on in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming, but also like slowly integrates them into what we're doing here. These are your tasks that you're doing that we can kind of help you understand what we do, why we do it, and that you can own. And then once you get comfortable, then we're kind of like graduating you up to kind of like, now, great, you can handle this. And what the other thing that I think has been really instrumental is learning for me as a business owner and how I'm a leader is this idea of there can be certain ways you work with a team, and depending on how long your team is with you and how much you have hired great people, the idea that you can move from what I consider task delegation, which is just like, hi, can you please do this thing? Hi, can you get this to me by end of day? Hi, I need you to do this. And you're always just delegating tasks. While helpful, it has kind of like this limit of how helpful this can be. Why? Because number one, those things don't stay, they don't get out of your brain. You're still responsible for thinking through all of these things that need to be done, when they need to be done by, how you're going to explain it to them, how you're, and the person on the other end is just accepting the task. And they're kind of operating in this idea of like, I need to fulfill this task, and then that's my job. That is one like approach. The approach that I've tried to move to, and where I think is really most helpful and beneficial for advisors, is this idea of outcome delegation. I have delegated the outcome to you. This is what you need to accomplish. Like, this is what needs to be accomplished. It is your responsibility to get it there. And if I have supported you and trained and given you the tools that you need, you should feel able to do that. Now, yes, when am I available to kind of like, hey, can we brainstorm this? Or I'm running into this, like, I'm not sure what to do here. Of course, always. But I trust my team now to be responsible for the outcome. Like when you are the client experience manager, you know what our client experience journey should be. You know the touch points that matter. You know when clients should be, you should reach out to them to kind of like figure out these important points in their trip, and make sure that you are checking in at these points and making sure they feel supported. You know what the outcome is. And so your job is to figure out how to best reach that outcome, not for me to tell you, hi, can you please make this dining reservation at 8 p.m. on Saturday? That is too much of a task. And it's playing small, I guess I would say.
Yep. No, I love that. And the outcome delegation, it also, to me, that empowers your team, because
Very
now
much so.
they have responsibilities. Because I think sometimes when you keep them in, just do this task, this task, it's almost in the, what was that phrase? Like, mother, may I kind of thing. Like, am I allowed to do this? Like, am I allowed, like, is this good enough? And it's almost like this constant need for them to validate that they're doing the right thing so that you will give them something else. And so, like you were saying, that task stays in your mind, but at the same time too, you're going to get a lot more interruption. I was talking with a friend of mine locally who owns a business, and she was saying like some of my staff, they're just off to the races. They do what they need. But then I have these other ones that every single time they're like, but is this good enough? Did I do this? And so I thought about that for quite a while. And then I was watching and I'm like, oh, this is in your leadership. Because while you have some staff members who can take that type of leadership and run with it, other staff members or other team members, that's not necessarily how they operate. So as a leader, your leader style has to shift and ebb and flow a little bit based on who it is that you're leading, because they need to be able to have that ability to have those conversations or be able to have that feeling of empowerment. 100%. I remember attending this was years ago, it was an HR thing, and it talked about the different generations, and it talked about the boomers that unless you told them, like, they just assumed they were doing a good job unless you told them they weren't. And then it just went through and all the way down to like the most recent generations where they're like, just because you told them yesterday doesn't mean they believe it now. Just because you told them this morning doesn't mean they believe it this afternoon. Just because you told them an hour ago doesn't mean they believe it this hour. And so she broke down how each and every person on your team, depending on somewhat of their generational cultural sort of backgrounds, how it is that they need to be validated, other such. And in that moment, while I am no boomer, I was raised on a farm by boomers, and I realized my leadership was very boomer like. And I'm like, unless I told you you're screwing up, just you're not.
Yeah, you're good.
And yet I had a team member. She had actually worked for me a couple of years, and I could never figure out what the problem was. And she was gone by the time this happened, but I was like, oh, that's what it was. Cause I'm like, oh my heavens, you're so needy, constantly having to be told you're fine. I'm like, you're fine. Like, just,
if I haven't said otherwise.
Right. But it's understanding the personalities of your team. Each one is going to be a little different. So I love that you said, you got really lucky the first time, and then you had to be really strategic the second time. And even if you get really lucky the second time and the third time, it doesn't mean that without the strategy in place and without the understanding, that is still going to work. And so what would you say is kind of that tipping moment? If somebody is looking at it, and they're thinking, I don't know, maybe I should bring on a VA, or maybe I should bring on an IC, because if I bring on ICs, well, then I can reduce my schedule. What do you have for thoughts on that?
So many thoughts. So many thoughts. Here's the thing. There's going to be a point in our business, hopefully, right, where you can't do it all. I think, unless that you are setting yourself up to kind of like stay at a point where you can do it all, and that is your goal, and that is totally fine. Nothing wrong with that at all. But when you define success for you and understand where you're going, what your vision is, for most of us, there's going to be a time where it is not possible or healthy to do it all on your own. Now, recognizing when those signs, what those signs are, and when they're coming, and the preparation you do on the front end to kind of prepare yourself best, I would say is like when you see increased client demand, when you see yourself feeling overwhelmed, and almost like this feeling of like, I'm feeling burned out, right? Because there's so many of us who have got to that point where we're at burnout. We're like going through like 14-hour days, and we're on the phone all of the time, and there's so many people that need so many things, and things might start falling through the cracks and all the things. That is an opportunity to get in front of that and to really say, hey, I prepared myself to when this season is coming, I will be ready to bring on help appropriately. So recognizing when it's the signs to hire is really, really important. And then deciding, hey, what type of help can I hire and what is best for me? The reason why I feel very passionate, let's say, about focusing on hiring support versus focusing on like true support that is specific to your business versus even a very, very like, general VA, and specifically hiring or bringing on ICs, is because when you get support in your business, this is what takes away that feeling of overwhelm, takes away the burnout, and allows you to truly scale your business, to actually take your business to the next level in a way that is like, this feels good. This feels what I was after. When you have an IC model, what you might be able to do is increase the volume that you're doing, because other people are handling, a section of trips and you're handling a section of trips, but you're still in the tasks that don't belong to you. Meaning you're not moving towards the 80-20, meaning 80% of the tasks that are not your zone of genius are out of your hands and out of your mind. You're still responsible for them, because these ICs, they have their own book of business or clients that they're dealing with. And so they don't have time to handle your invoicing or your dining reservations or your follow-up with suppliers or your chasing commissions or all of those things. They're doing their own thing. And also when you have ICs, when you have people, so to speak, like underneath you, they're expecting mentorship. So what they're also doing is being a big leech on your energy, on your time, all of those things. And so while that may long-term pay off, it might not. And you have people on your team who are just requiring so much of you, And that doesn't help you get more of your time back. It doesn't help you feel less overwhelmed. It doesn't help for any of that. So I love the idea of support. I love the idea of, you can call them a virtual assistant, but I also really love the idea of thinking through, what is this role that I need in my business? Is it operational? Like, I have an operations manager because there is so much that is the operational part of my business that I want handled well, and that I want somebody who sees all the things and knows how everything works and is on top of everything and lets nothing fall through the cracks. And I want it all. Am I the best for it to be like, here's my responsibility? Nope. I know that. I know that I am like a visionary, and let's sit down and let me show you my ideas and look at where I see the 3-year vision and all of these things. Now, I want somebody who's going to be like, I hear you. Here's how we're going to integrate. Here's how all of this is going to be implemented. Here's what we need to pay attention to in this quarter, I want that person on my team, because I want to be in the clouds and having the big visions, and that's where I shine. Now, if I need to, I'll be the integrator, but I also know that it's really good to find somebody and hire somebody that can be that complement to me. So I think that having the right support with the right personalities and truly feeling like, hey, I know this role that I want to be in the business, and this is going to help us grow, is a really good thing. The second thing I kind of will add to that is that there is a place, and this kind of goes back to what we talked about when we're thinking about not necessarily like this ongoing support, whether that's part-time, whether that's task-based, whatever, but this is when you're ready for maybe project-based or specific tasks. That is something like a social media manager, or somebody helping with content creation, or if you're going through a rebrand and you need all of this type of stuff, those are places where freelancers can be beneficial. But I think that the support and the continuous support is far more beneficial for the long term of your business, and where you should start. When you get kind of in the place of, hey, I'm firing on all cylinders, we're great, we're amazing, and now, you know what, I want to take our marketing up to the next level, and I don't have space and time, or this is not my zone of genius, and I have the finances to kind of bring somebody on a contractor basis, and they are good at what they do. You want people when you're contracting out, you want people specialized in that thing. You don't want a generalist who can just do it, like you said, post on social media. That's helpful a little bit. If you're investing in this part of your business for a freelancer or contractor, I think that they should be, hey, you're tapping into specialized skills. You're not committing to a full-time hire, but you have the ability to really level up in some area of your business. And that's where I feel like that specialized project-based help can be really, really special and helpful, but it comes at a specific time of business. And it's not where you start, I don't think, for the best benefit, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And one thing I kind of just want to circle back to, because this is what I see when I'm coaching travel agents or travel advisors, is they've hired a social media person, or they've hired this, that, or the other. And then when we start digging into it, they've had them for 6 months. Their following hasn't increased. They haven't gotten a sale or anything from that. And yet they're incredibly resistant to let that person go. How would you how do you look at the return on investment when you are hiring contractors or hiring a team of any sort?
Yeah, so there's first you have to be quick to hire and fast to fire. There's some phrase like that. I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember if that's exactly it, but quite honestly, you're gonna know. So when it's somebody you've hired somebody just to be part of your team, support staff, whatever, I think you need to give them, number one, and the ability to kind of figure out what the heck is going on. We have a unique industry. We do all the things a little bit different. You're bringing somebody on who hasn't been in this industry before. You need to set them up for success. In the first 3 weeks for me, bringing on somebody on the team is you're just learning what we do. I don't even really expect much from you. I want you to understand what Travify is, what our CRM is, what our process is. I want you to kind of get in just the flow of what we do and understanding all of our terms and what our client journey looks like, all of those types of things. So the first 3 weeks, I really expect nothing. Within the first 3 months, I expect I will know if this is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
You get it, you don't get it.
Yep.
We vibe, we don't vibe. you're a quick learner. You're gonna suck the life out of me.
Yep.
And I think you know that in the first 3 months. And so continuing on is number one. It's not gonna make you feel good, but it's also, it might not be the right kind of job for them either. And so it's not good for them either. So I would say in the first 3 months is when like the knowledge is there, not necessarily that they're fully up to speed running with the races. Like that's like a 6 month-ish, like, wow, this person really is contributing on a like very healthy, helpful level. That for me is about 6 months. But I think at 3 months, you kind of know, is this going to work? 6 months, you kind of know, okay, great. They should be owning certain things and really, really doing their job well and taking things, like I said, out of my brain. So that kind of is my process for, the hires. When I'm hiring a freelancer, and I just actually did this, so I have a little bit I'm going through this process like literally as we speak with content and social media management, which actually is something I do enjoy. But there is a level of commitment when you're looking at the big picture strategy and all the different ways I want my marketing to make a difference and make an impact, that I know is a little bit limiting when I'm trying to do it when I have the time, so to speak. And so with that, what I would say is you have to go in on the front end knowing why you're doing it. And there has to be more to it than like, I just don't like doing it. I feel like I should be on social media, but I just don't like it. That's not a good enough reason. And you're not going to really see any results that matter when that is your approach. So you have to know why you're doing it. And you also have to understand, like, how am I going to measure if this is working, if this is worth the investment? It's a little bit difficult, I'm not going to lie, to understand like an ROI on something like that, because it's not direct. It's not like, hey, I've put these posts out on LinkedIn and I put a newsletter out and I have 2 blogs this month and then I post it on social media consistently for a week. Where's my clients? Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't really work that way. But you also have to know, like, what are you after? Because the way that a social media manager approaches what they're doing for you is often based on you letting them know what you're after. Do you need brand awareness? Do you need conversions? And so you're deciding what is the outcome that I'm looking for? What is going to get that outcome, right? So it's a different type of content that you're putting out when you're looking for conversions than when you're looking for brand awareness. But if you haven't identified that on the front end as the business owner, as knowing where your business is at, and you didn't communicate that, then if they're putting out brand awareness posts and you're looking for conversions, and that's a mismatch right there. So if you're looking for conversions, you need to start measuring conversions. How many inquiries were you getting before you started working with this person? And then after 6 months, should you see an increase in inquiries? I would hope so. Otherwise, it's just a vanity metric. Like,
Mhm.
it's not effective, and it's not doing anything if it actually isn't moving the needle in any way. So knowing kind of like the time frame that is fair to say, I should see something from this effort. And then what was the effort? What was the thing that I wanted to see? Did I communicate that properly? And did we set up what we were doing in order that should be the result, right? Now, you getting on the phone and having the consultation, like, that's on you, right? At the end of the day, that's not on a social media manager to actually do the conversions. But if their job is to get more people inquiring, filling out your form, scheduling a call, what have you, then that KPI needs to be in place in a way that makes sense. And a good social media manager will know that. They're not just going to say, yeah, I'll do this work. Like, they're going to be, of course, results should be, seen from our work together. Yeah. After a specified amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's part of it too, is and social media is the one that really does come up, because I think that's the one that everybody's like, I don't want it. And just marketing as a whole, I see where they will buy blogs from packaged things, or they'll, I'm going to buy all these emails so I don't have to write it, or the influx of posts that are written on AI because they all sound the same.
Yeah,
and so
you're saying nothing.
Right?
That's a robot.
Right? I'm going to chase a squirrel for a second, because I was in the process of developing this new program that I wanted, but I'm like, I despise having to name things because I never like the names. And so I started typing things into AI and giving it all of my prompts, like, this is what it's going to be about. This is what it's going to help them. And instantly it popped up the name that somebody else has just named their Facebook group, which was very similar to my Facebook group name, like very similar. And I'm like, well, that's fascinating. Anyways, I started going through, and every single name it gave me, somebody else already has.
Mm.
And so I started looking at some of the different sorts of things. Um, and then so I went down one of those rabbit holes,
Yeah.
and I spent like a couple of hours doing this. But between the social media posts, between naming it, between all of these different sorts of things, website copy, I'm like, oh, it legit just steals from everybody else's. So if you are using AI and you are not tweaking it out, you are legit writing something somebody else has already written. And I think we need this like magic pill. We're going to make it so easy. We're going to like flip this around. You've still got to put yourself into it, or else I think we are really headed for a world of some copyright infringements coming up in the not too distant future. Because there will be companies out there that'll be like, we're going to make some money. But
Oh, yeah.
there's something that's going on with that. But when we get into marketing, and it's just sort of like when I work with travel advisors and I talk to them about my sales program, they're like, oh, but I'm not in sales. I'm like, but you are.
Oh,
They're like, no,
honey.
I plan travel. I'm like, no, you can plan it all you want, but if you want to make money, you actually have to sell it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's that changing the mindset. And so the same thing happens when it comes to marketing. And so, well, I'm just going to hire it out. One, we have an ego that's talking, that's saying, look at who I've hired. I fully admit that was my biggest problem when I first opened my own agency, was my ego was in full display. I'm like, look at my office. Look how many people I have that are working for me. Isn't this amazing? Wait, what do you mean there's no clients? You know? And then I'm like, damn, does anybody know what overhead on a physical location with staff? Like,
Yes.
excuse me, hello, like we're open. And so it's all of these different sorts of things that factor in. But when you farm out your marketing, if you don't have the outcomes in place, if you don't have what you're tracking already figured out, one, you're not going to know if the person's doing a good job. Two, if they're not asking you questions about your strategy, about your outcomes, about what it is that your goals are, I promise you they're not professional. Like you've maybe have somebody who will post content you give them. But when you hire a social media manager, they should be coming to you with an entire inquiry system where they want to know, what is your outcome? What are you looking to do? What is your goals? What are we tracking? What do you want to know more about? Again, I was chatting with a friend of mine locally who has a web guy, and I give her things that I've learned. I'm like, hey, blah, like, about this, about your website. And she's like, I don't know. So she would ask him, he's like, oh, that's outdated. I'm like, no, this is where I got my stuff from. And so he's like, oh, well, I guess I could change it. She's paying a premium for that. And yet her guy's not staying up to date. And so you want to make sure that you are working with people who are willing to provide you with metrics. And I fully admit, 6 months, you might not see much difference because travel is such a long buying cycle. It's going to take a while to bring them into the sphere. It's going to take a while to get them to even be ready to convert because maybe you caught them on a wrong time. But what are you looking for? Because even like you were saying earlier, vanity metrics, if you're not even tagging those vanity metrics, then you really have a problem with that. So
yeah, 100%. And just one like last point about this rabbit hole we've gone down. Marketing is so all encompassing, and it doesn't serve you well to do things that actually don't move the needle in your business.
right.
And there are so many things that we could do that could make a difference, right? And it's easy to kind of, and I'm saying this as somebody who likes social media, who's on social media, who uses it as a marketing vehicle, but it is one piece of the puzzle, and it is not the thing that for a lot of people is going to make the difference. And so first and foremost, like, your client experience is the biggest marketing tool you have. You need to be doing a damn good job of actually delivering on the promises that you make to the clients that you have traveling. first and foremost, because repeat and referral business will grow a travel book of business faster and more effectively than any social media there ever was. When I look at my numbers, as much as I give to content and social media, it's new clients are still, and they always should be, the smallest percentage of my book of business. Repeat and referral is what keeps me growing and scaling. And the reason why I have great repeat and referral business is because I have a great client experience. People like the work that we do, and they like us, and they understand our values, and that we really are providing something valuable, and we hone in on that. And it's important to spend so much time in that space. And also, yes, like look professional, have a great website, make sure your copy really speaks to what you do and why you do it and who you do it for, all of those things. But even within marketing and even within what is in the digital space, there is A, more than social media. There is B, the place that social media holds, right? It's a corner. It's not the whole thing. It's not marketing only in that space. And so even to that point, when you are thinking of where do I need help in my business, it's really doing an audit of all the things that you actually do and that make a difference, and being like, where is my resources best spent at this point in time? Maybe it's social media, maybe it's not, but you got to take a look at the whole picture and make that assessment and just be really honest with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So much to think about. One last question, and I don't know if you've gone down this path yet or not, but when things are not working out, how do you let them go?
No, I'm so bad. I get sweaty thinking about it, right?
Right.
And I've only actually, and goes back to what I just even said a few moments ago about like after 3 months, you're going to kind of know. And so it's only happened for me once. And quite honestly, it was a learning experience because, I was bringing on somebody and I wasn't quite sure if like what the fit was. But I think the out of alignment piece, which is maybe something really important to talk about as well, is like their goal was kind of like to be me. I don't need another me on my team. I don't. And a lot of times I think even when you're looking to hire, the idea that somebody wants the glamorous life that they think travel advisors have, I'm like, oh, I want to do that. No, I want people, like I said, I want people to run operations. I want people to be in charge of client experience. I want people like this is a business we're running, and I don't want people to like be me or do what I do. And then that's how they get in the door. And then they're kind of like bummed that like the glamorous life is chasing commissions. You know what I mean? Like you're doing the task, you're not like going on the fam trips. So I think it was just like a misalignment in like where she was trying to go and what she was looking for. And a lot of times that does come, like I get a lot of people like reaching out to me, like, are you hiring? And I think to that point, a lot of times, not all the time, I mean, nothing is 100%, that is could be a misalignment in what they're looking for and what I need. And so I prefer to say, here's a job description of what I need in my business. It happens to be a travel business. Just FYI, I'll teach you about the industry. But if you're coming to me because my job looks cool and you want a cool job like this and it seems really great and you love travel too and you plan all your trips for your friends, it's probably not in alignment. And so what I had to do after a couple of months of just kind of like, it was just like the energy wasn't quite right. The acceptance of like, hey, here's the help that I actually need. Well, when do I get to do this? Probably not ever. I don't know. But like, it just wasn't a good fit. And so it was a conversation of like, this doesn't seem like the right fit for either of us. And I want you to be happy with what you get to do on a day-to-day basis. And the help that I need in this season looks like this. And I'm just not sure that it's right for you. And so it's not a comfortable conversation for me, but I think it was like best to like nip that early and just to not feel a little bit of like, resentment and like we're both not feeling great and it's not really helpful and team dynamics, especially like this is a very small team. I want us all to like love what we're doing and feel like we are a team, and feel like we all know our roles and we're not trying to be something we're not, but it has to all feel good because it's too small not to. Nobody's hiding. I feel like I love the people I work with And I love the dynamic that we've built. And I refuse to like not have it feel that way,
Love
because
it.
that's going to affect my day to day. And no,
Yeah.
thank you.
And it's that whole idea that if you bring in one that brings the group down, the group isn't going to lift them up. They're going to bring the group down.
That's how it happens.
And I will forever remember the first time I had to let somebody go. And I did it in the worst ways possible, because when they said, I can't believe you're doing this, I've never been fired before. And I didn't know what else to say. So I'm like, well, that makes two of us because I've never actually had to do this before. And I'm like, that's so inappropriate to say. And it's like one of those like permanently
It was
ingrained in my
out.
brain,
Reel
but
it
I didn't
in.
know what else to say in that moment.
Yeah.
And the reason why I do tell that story is simply so that it's terrifying the first time. And I'm not going to lie, the second, third, and fourth didn't get much better. But I do remember the one that I had let go, like you were saying, with the 3 months before, because when she came in and we were negotiating wage, she wanted a lot more than I was willing to pay. But at the same time, I said to her, I said, I will make you a deal. If at the end of 3 months, you will either be worth that money or I'm going to let you go. And we were about 2 or 3 weeks out. I remember it very clearly being about 2 or 3 weeks out. She was out for lunch. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to start paying her more. I'm like, she's so not worth it. I'm like, oh, there's my decision. She came back from lunch. She was done. Because I would strongly encourage you to look at it. If you had to pay them another 10% or 15 or 20% or whatever it was more, would they still be worth it? Because sometimes, especially when we're picking up somebody who's maybe not a premium wage, we're like, it's not really costing that much, but it really is.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're ever on the fence, would you hire somebody new that behaved like that? Would they make
Mm-hmm.
it past probation? Would you give them a raise? A big one is as you come into maybe bonus season, Christmas bonuses or holiday bonuses, performance bonuses. How does giving them a bonus make you feel?
Yeah.
Because those all become indications. Now, don't get me wrong. I even hired somebody on the 1st of December and I knew by the 15th he was gone. I still couldn't fire him till after Christmas because I couldn't. Like I just I
You're
couldn't
not
do it.
Scrooge. Like
I couldn't do it. In retrospect, it might have been better because then when he came back after the holidays, then his pregnant wife and like 3-year-olds came to visit. And I'm like, and as I was about to fire him, they walked in. All I hear is daddy. And I'm like, oh, dear heavens.
oh.
And so then he's like, oh, do you mind if I take a long lunch? I'm like, take as long as you need. Because I'm like, I can't believe, like, so don't put it off because things are going to like make it that much more uncomfortable because yeah, his wife and child had come down to see his office and check it out and everything else because they were so proud of him. And I got to hear all of these stories and I'm like, I think I'm nauseous, but
Yeah.
you know what? You've got to look after your business. The number one reason I let people go over the years was like you were saying, it was the way they treated a client. That very first person I let go, I actually had a family member, but the staff didn't know it was a family member. She was dropping off an order for me. She used to sell a product. And so she was delivering it for me while I was away at a conference. And this person who never complains about anybody said, just to let you know, when I was explaining this to this person, she put her hand in my face and told me, I know you don't have to explain. And I had already was on the fence about things there, but I'm like, no, that does it. Like, if that's how you treat somebody that you have no concept of what my relationship is with this person, you can't be in my office. Like, it's just straight up. And when I was at that conference, I remember speaking with an owner and he told me, he goes, you can never become attached to the money because he actually was leaving that conference to go home to let go his top producer. And the reason being because they were destroying the rest of the culture, the rest of the company. So he was a former hockey player and he treated his team like a hockey team and the way he paired them off and other such. But he said, if you let somebody's ego take over and they destroy the team, you don't have a team. He goes, you have to put the team ahead of the money because when you put the team ahead of the money will follow. And I was very grateful for that conversation because it did mean that there was no question she was going to be gone when I got back. But it doesn't, it's not easy. And if you think firing somebody is easy, I promise you, as somebody who's had to do it, and I think Brianna would echo this, it sucks. It churns the
Mhm.
guts, like the whole nine
Mhm.
yards. It, there's not an easy magic pill to it. You just
No.
got to rip off the band-aid, and more importantly, do it before they can cause any damage in your business. Because I think
Yeah.
too often we leave people in places and then we're like, wait, where did all the clients go? Well, you
Yeah.
left them there 6 months too long and the client experience went to
Suffered.
pot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
100%. The people on your team are such a reflection and an extension of your brand and then therefore you. And so it's so important to find people aligned that understand your vision, that understand your values, that really feel like they have a sense of ownership in what you're doing, and that like you trust them with that vision and that brand that they're representing on a day-to-day basis, because it is so important, especially client facing people. Man, oh man, like I take that so seriously. Like I don't want anybody talking to my clients who I can't fully vouch for and believe in and stand behind. So
yep.
yeah, that's super
Yep.
critical.
I love that. I think that is a great way to end this episode. And just know it's going to take a while before you're ready to hire. You more people wait until after it's too late. But at the same time, too, make sure you're hiring for the right reasons and not just to fill that ego. I fully admit that was how I started when I was an owner of an agency, because I wanted to be this big agency. In retrospect, I would rather have been an agency that had clients at every desk in a lineup, but we all learn our lessons one way or another. We did eventually get there. But yeah, just because you hire somebody does not instantly mean they're going to cover their own bills. You need to have a plan going in. You need to know what the outcomes are, and you need to have a clear, defined description of what that role looks like you said, people will start reaching out. People love the idea of going
Mhm.
on trips. They want to go do all the FAMs. They want to go do all these things. And if you've been in the industry any length of time, we also all know that, yes, these are phenomenal experiences, but we don't put the crappy part on Instagram. Like
Right.
travel advisors don't put the crap on Instagram. They put the good stuff.
The
They do
highlight
what
reel.
Brianna does, and it's these beautiful vistas in Africa with like
Yeah.
spectacular bathrooms, but that's not necessarily the full reality of it. It's
Yes,
not showing the
absolutely.
sweat pouring off because you've been traveling for 30 some hours and you're exhausted and dirty and yeah,
All the
no.
things. Yep.
So
Yep, you are right.
fabulous. Of course, guys, I'm going to link up the Masters in Travel podcast for you guys. Go check out Brianna and her team over there as well. It's a great listen. And until next time, happy selling.
Mm.